Hello?
Hi, Mark.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Danny Rye from Fanbase. How you doing?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. You're live on the air right now.
Hey, you guys.
Hey, thanks for being on the show.
Hello.
Hi. All right. So we
How
got.
goes it? You got me at a good time. I was just ready to give you a call, actually.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
what a coincidence.
Well, we called
Good
you.
job, Danny.
That's one
Wow.
less hassle you have to worry about.
I applaud you, Danny, for actually doing it before he did.
Okay. Anyway, Mark or Mr. McKenna, what do you prefer to be called?
You called me Mark. My dad was Mr. McKenna, right?
That joke never
good
gets
times,
old.
Good times.
Sorry
Okay.
about that.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's the classic cheesy joke, man. I'm glad you went with it. So
Can you hold 1 second? I'm going to shut my beeper off. Actually, this is the beeper that's alarming me to call you.
Wow.
There you go. Okay, I'm good now.
hold on. First we have to take in the moment to realize that we were important that you set your beeper to us. Everybody take in this moment.
Yeah,
wow.
I like to say it was like a bat utility thing, but it's not the case.
Well, actually,
approve.
speaking of Batman, let's jump right into it, shall we?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So you have over 25 years experience of being an illustrator and a cover artist, and you've worked for both Marvel and DC, right?
Yeah, and Dark Horse and Image, and more recently Archie Comics.
Oh.
I've been working on
Cool. Really?
for the last couple of months now.
So you have been
Nice.
all over the place. The first question that, well, I don't normally ask this type of question first off, but just the fact that you worked for Marvel and DC, I got to ask, is there like a real rivalry between those two? Is it like, I don't buy those comics, they're a piece of crap, or is it more professional?
Do you mean on the art or business level or the fan level?
More like the art or business level. We already know the fans are kind
Yeah.
of at each other's throats.
The business level, there is an issue with that. DC doesn't like getting trounced by Marvel continually, and they definitely try things to shake things up. Unfortunately, Marvel is the company that kind of like sets the pace for everything else follows. And when DC didn't have that killer instinct to put a lot of product out, I would say probably back in the mid '90s, yeah, there was DC. Marvel would start to flood the market with more product, and DC found themselves having to catch up and put out more product just to keep up with Marvel. So a lot of times Marvel sets the pace, and then DC would then follow.
Wow.
I never would have known
Actually, we
that.
play each other in. There's always rivalry with the Marvel. They have a Marvel DC softball game that goes on.
Awesome.
Believe me,
Oh, yeah?
Is there
play with
always
one of
people
those
charging
teams,
them out?
You want to win.
I bet there are a lot of accidental hits to first base, right?
Yeah, definitely.
People
Absolutely.
charging them out as well?
Actually, we played in San Diego Comic Con. Was just this past week. I didn't go this year, but last time I went was 4 years ago, and actually they were going to try to play at Petco Field where the San Diego Padres play. But Dan DiDio, the editor-in-chief at DC, couldn't quite pull the string off at the right time, so we ended up playing at in a big park out there. But it was really neat. They had a bus of comic book pros, and then we had a fan bus that actually followed us to the field, and I think they paid something to get to the game, and actually ran a couple of eBay auctions where if you were a high bidder, you could actually play for the DC team or the Marvel team, which was kind of nice too, you know.
Interesting.
That's pretty smart.
Now, with the softball game, I got to ask, was it like 1 year you were on the Marvel team, the next year you were on the DC?
That's exactly right. The first year I played, I was at Marvel. That was back in 1985, 86. But last time I played was 4 years ago in San Diego. I played for Marvel actually, and they beat DC. The year later, I didn't go, but then I would have played for DC. A couple of other guys jumped ship and went to DC, but still Marvel beat them. So,
wow.
I'd like to think I would have had something to do with it if I was there, but I wasn't there. I don't know. I think they got trounced probably.
Oh, my goodness.
You were probably the MVP player there.
You know what? I'm not a bad player. I played third base, and
Nice.
I was a cleanup hitter in the old days. I was 1 for 2 with a double, scored a run, RBI, that type of thing. But and you think about it, a lot of if you guys know comic book art people, are not usually supposed to be in shape, you know?
Yeah. We're not
Hunchbacked
supposed to be in shape.
big-bellied and nearsighted type of thing, you know.
Right.
Here, I thought that was the fans, not the not the artists.
The fans too, but we try to. You got to keep yourself in shape in this business, because if you don't, you're just going to get old real fast,
Yeah, that's true.
All right. So let's start off with the question that we always ask: how did you get started? How did you get into the world of professional comics?
Yeah, a collector. I was a collector probably as a teenager, and when push came to shove, and I saw my guidance counselor in high school. He said, what do you want to do with yourself? And the only two really areas I grasped at the time were comic book, collecting, which I drew a little bit, and film. I was making these little Super 8 films in the woods, and I was doing a Clint Eastwood kind of thing, and get dressed up with a poncho, and I wasn't growing a beard back then, so I did a lot of charcoal kind of on my face,
Yes.
We've all been
it was
there.
fun. But actually, so what happened was I ended up going to the School of Visual Arts in New York City, which is one of the premier art schools in the country, and I took animation in the college because it was like a little bit of both. It was like the comic book thing with the film thing, and it I did about a year and a half of that, and I realized that this is brutal, because it was about 770 drawings for 1 minute of animation.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And that was just brutal,
Right. Wow. Okay. You guys?
Did I answer your question? I don't even know if I did.
Yeah.
No, I don't think he did.
You don't think?
No, I was listening, but I don't think he actually asked us the question.
So okay, so then I went back to I went back at Visual Arts, and I started focusing on comic art career, and I ended up meeting the prospective teacher at the school, who was also the new talent coordinator at DC Comics. His name is Sal Almondola.
Wow, lucky you.
He took me up to the offices, introduced me around, and said to me, he wanted me to do some samples. So I went back, I did some samples, came back a few weeks later, and then went up to him quite confident that I thought I could get a job right that day. And he basically said to me, you need a couple more years, and then you'll be ready to do this.
Ouch.
I was a little humbled, but I stuck with it, and I think within 2 years I was doing professional work,
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
That's pretty good to hear.
All right.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Now, you've done covers for Aquaman, Spider-Man, just a whole slew of superheroes. So I gotta ask, what is your favorite type to do? Like, what's the one superhero where you'd be like, yeah, I'd be happy to do that no matter what?
I'm a big cosmic superhero fan. I like the Silver Surfer.
Really?
Fan of. So I got to do an issue of Silver Surfer back in 92, somewhere in there, issue 96. And I did some work in a Silver Surfer annual, but not enough, unfortunately. You like doing the Spider-Man stuff. I got to do Batman a few years ago, the original detective comic from 1940s, come to think of it. I think the issue I did was like in the 675. I think if you count that many months back, that's like, the 40s.
Wow.
Unfortunately, I did about 6-8 issues of that, and they had another big shot coming on the book, and they had to move things around. But anytime you do the icons like Batman, Superman, the Hulk, the X-Men, that stuff that excites me. Although I would love to do all the characters that I grew up with, Daredevil, and the fellow at DC named the Creeper.
Oh yeah, we know him.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna ask about the Cosmic Heroes. What's your favorite thing about drawing those covers? Do you like the backgrounds? You can make them all universes and galaxies, sort of psychedelic stuff, or?
I'm sorry. Could you speak a little clearer?
Oh, sorry. I was wondering what you liked most about the Cosmic Hero covers. You said you enjoyed drawing them the most.
Oh, I like the fact these guys could shoot rays out of their fingertips. And, and the guy could just go in outer space on a surfboard, or just unusual powers. Stuff. Adam Warlock was a guy I was a fan of. He could do things like that.
I know him.
I like the Inhumans. I don't know if you knew them. Black Bolt was a fellow.
Oh, yeah, I know them.
Wouldn't speak, and if he opened his mouth, basically he could whisper and blow a whole city apart, you know?
Yeah, I know Black Bolt well.
That kind of stuff was cool, although I don't think you would whisper a whole lot. But I don't know. Something about those guys fascinating, probably because you could come and go to different worlds, you know, and otherworldly stuff. I always got a kick out of that.
Wow. All right. Now, apart from being an illustrator and a cover artist, you actually also do self-publishing with your comic Banana Tail, right?
That is correct, yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Banana Tail is my labor of love. That's something that I started out with. My father was an idea. See, what happened was originally when I was in the comic book business, my father, who is not with us anymore, he passed away in 2002, but he was a great idea man. I thought he had some great ideas always, but he was always tentative or afraid to put them down on paper. And I called him the great procrastinator. He would always have great ideas and never follow through with them. And I said to him one day, Dad, you know, you got a son that's in the business. You know, I'm making comic books every month. And I have an opportunity here to work on something myself. I can hire, you know, professional people that I know that are professional, you know, letterers and colorists and, you know, logo designers, and I can get these guys to all work for a song and a dance, you know, and we could put something really great out there, you know, and I think I could get some interest in it because I am a comic book guy. I think there's familiarity, you know, with me, and I can certainly go into a company and say, you know, I worked on Spider-Man and Batman, and I think that would bring their interest to it, you know. But when my father passed away, I had some interest from Golden Books, which is probably the premier children's book company in the world. Back in the 60s and the 70s, they did some stuff called Pokey Little Puppy. It was big.
Oh, yeah. I remember this from my childhood.
Saggy Baggy Elephant was something they told me about. I didn't know what that was, but they told me, actually Golden Books, when they called me, told me they were actually considering buying two of my characters from me, Banana Tail and Tic Tac, who was a plaid zebra, and actually hiring a writer to write these characters as supporting characters in Saggy Baggy Elephant books. So they were trying to rejuvenate those you know, long existing characters and kind of like bring in that new fresh faces for them. So you know, so that was something I was really excited about. But then Golden Books went into bankruptcy trouble back in the mid '90s, and I basically got. I was told that basically, you know, the person who was working with me was fired, and I didn't have any legs to stand on. So I ended up self-publishing my own first Banana Tail book. I did it in comic book format, you know, same size as a comic book, but I did it as single illustrations on a page, so it wasn't like you had to read a comic book panel to panel, you know, for 22 pages. I did a 30-page single illustrations. Without word balloons, but these guys actually had little balloons come out of their mouth. They put all the text on the bottom, like a typical children's book.
Right.
And I sold 2,000 books myself in 4 months.
Wow.
And I went back to print another 2,000 books. And then I had a publisher get involved with telling me that he could sell 100,000 books for me. Here I am doing 2,000 books. He said he could sell 100,000. So I said, okay, go for it. And, you know, it was just a lot of fluff at the time. Unfortunately, nothing really worked out, and his business went belly up, and I stopped, you know, pushing the product myself. And I had to go back to square one and just reevaluate everything. And since then, I've had a second book I self-published called Banana Tails, Tales and Activities. And Image Comics they have a surprint called Shadowline Books, which is Jim Valentino, one of the original founders of Image, his surprint, and he actually just contracted me to do my second Banana Tail storybook. So for April 2010, so I'm really excited about that.
Cool.
Well, that's great. It's great.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
What are your plans for the future?
For general stuff?
Like, do you have any idea about other comics you're going to be doing? And could you give us a preview of the next Banana Tail?
You know, I really would love to do Banana Tail and you know, have fond memories of the comic book business. But the way it is for me right now is I do need to make money, and monthly comic book business is still making me money. There's more chinks in the armor now. The fact that when I was 15 years younger, there was a lot more work. There was a lot more comic books out, so I could pick and choose more work. Now, I'm 15 years older, and there's a lot less work, and there's a lot of young guys coming into business now, so there's a lot more competition.
Well, you whip them into place.
I'd like to do comics for a few more years. I'd like Banana Tail to get some legs, and then maybe do an animated. So I'm in talks constantly with this Korean businessman who wants to animate Banana Tail as a TV series in Korea and in the Asian markets. But he wants to pay me a small amount of money to own the rights in those markets, and I'm just not comfortable with that.
I wouldn't do that either.
No, absolutely.
I heard things like overseas there, it's like the Wild Wild West with the licensing. They can basically do what they want, and you'll never know. It could be the next Dora the Explorer out there, and and I wouldn't even know it probably.
Wow.
So I got to be careful with that stuff. But I see another book coming out. If Image can do something with it, they're out there in California, not far from Hollywood. Maybe they can, pitch it to different studios. I can see it really. When I saw Curious George came out as a movie, 2 years ago, people saying, "Hey, that looks like Banana Tail." And I'm like, "Yeah," except Curious George has been around since the 50s.
Yeah.
But I got a couple more years of comics, and then I'd like to do Banana Tail full time. If that doesn't work out as I'd like it to work out, then I would look into maybe going back to school for teaching. So I can teach maybe college level, classes on drawing and things of that nature.
Nice.
That would be great.
Hope so.
All right, I have 2 more questions before we have to say goodbye. First off, since you're so good at softball, W4CY may be getting a softball team in the future. Would you be willing to come down here and play for us?
Awesome.
Yeah, I think so. That'd be fun. Would it be in the hot weather?
Well, it would be cooler than it is now. We're not playing in the summer. That's just crazy.
No.
You have to be insane to play down
What's the weather like down there now, if I could ask?
Right now it's like
overcast.
It's overcast, so it's not hot right now.
Yeah, but it moves in between sunny and then raining, and then it's
85 and muggy.
It's 85 and muggy.
Okay. Yep.
There you go.
We had one of those overcast days where it looked like it was 9 o'clock all day, 9 o'clock at night all day yesterday, and and all I hear, you hear it like thunder, like every half hour for like 12 hours, and nothing ever happened, and it was just disgusting,
Gotcha.
So I'll play for you guys. I just don't want to be doing it in that bad weather,
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, of course.
All right, and finally, and I gotta ask this because you were originally a collector, now you're in the business. What, in your opinion, would be like the ultimate superhero matchup? And I'm talking like Spider-Man versus Superman kind of thing.
Jeez.
Did I put you on the spot?
I think I probably. I used to buy, when I bought comics as a young teenager. I used to buy the ones that always jumped out at me were the guys. When there was superhero fighting a superhero, Hulk versus the Thing.
Right.
Or the Superman, Spider-Man crossovers, things like that. I'd actually go into the comics and mark down how many punches each guy would get on the other guy, and if the guy would knock the guy across, the pond, I'd give him 2 punches for that because it was a super punch,
Right.
As opposed to Daredevil tapping away at the Hulk and not doing anything.
Yeah.
I remember doing that and getting a big kick out of that. But I don't have a specific. I don't know. I probably had an idea for who I'd like to see beat each other up at one point, but I don't know if I have that anymore in me. It'd probably be kind of cool to see maybe the Silver Surfer fighting somebody like Adam Warlock for me. Probably more obscure guys.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then there's this fella at DC. His name is the Creeper. He's got that kind of like haunting laugh in the background. He's a journalist, and he's a little bit of Spider-Man, so maybe something like a Spider-Man versus Creeper would be an awesome fight for me. But I don't think it'd sell real well because nobody knows who the Creeper is.
I gotcha.
They really need to work on that, don't they?
Actually, I have one last question that I gotta ask. Since you worked for DC, what's your opinion of the Watchmen movie?
I just watched it again yesterday. Actually, I had trouble reading the book back when it first came out. For some reason, I had no interest in it. I started reading it. I was bored, and I forced myself to sit with it. before the movie came out, and I honestly, some days I'd get through 2 pages of reading, and I would just. I usually take my comics near, up on my bedstand so I could read before I fall asleep. And when you fall asleep 2 pages into a comic, that's never a good thing, right?
Yeah.
So the Dr. Manhattan stuff always left me a little cold. I thought Rorschach was such an interesting character. And
of course.
Absolutely.
But
Rorschach is.
I thought Zack Snyder did a really decent job with the movie, because it was a real puzzle to put together.
Right.
And it entertained me. I think anybody who went to that movie expecting a superhero movie left disappointed.
Right.
Did you guys like it or?
Yeah. I liked it a lot. I had known about The Watchmen way before it became a movie. My father actually read me the original comic books as a bedtime story.
Oh my goodness!
Oh, God.
Explains so much.
Explains everything.
And people
him.
wonder why I'm like this.
People want to know why you have those perverse thoughts all the time.
Yes.
No, but I really did enjoy the movie, and I thought it was.
Now
really
I heard the director's cut just came out the other day too. Are you guys interested in seeing what that looks like? I heard they had 24 minutes.
Yeah, I bought that on Blu-ray. It's great.
We were just watching it over at his house 2 days ago.
What did they add? I don't. Was it
They
Dr. Manhattan stuff? Or?
Not really so much Dr. Manhattan stuff.
They added some small things that were awesome. They brought back Rorschach's comment on Ozymandias. Possible homosexual must investigate further.
Oh, yeah.
That's the epic quote right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
They did that. They took in a few other major scenes, like one that wasn't even in the comic book, where Silk Spectre literally beat the crap out of this government guy for almost calling her a whore.
And then she, the scene where she actually escapes.
I heard they maybe added more with the newsstand with the kid.
Oh yeah, Bernie and Bernie.
Was that in there? I don't.
Yeah, no, there was definitely more about the newsstand and the kid that's reading the comic book. There's definitely more of that.
Now, did you guys see the Tales of the Black Freighter?
I've not seen that yet.
Not yet.
No, I have not.
Okay, that was on. They released that on animation, a video a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to see it on pay-per-view, and that was. I didn't quite understand the correlation between that and Watchmen, but
it was basically.
If you listen to the commentary before and during, it kind of tried to make it understand it, but to this very moment, I still don't quite get it, but. That was odd. I mean, he'd take dead bodies and create a raft with the dead bodies to get off this island. And he'd float on these dead bodies to create a raft just to get off the island. What a crazy mind that Alan Moore had, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Mark. Well, unfortunately, we're running out of time right now, so we got to say goodbye. But thank you so much for coming on and talking to us.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for
really
calling. I appreciate being on your show.
Hey, no problem. We're going to have you back on in the future, too, if you don't mind.
Excellent. I'll do it anytime.
Awesome. Okay. All right. We'll talk to you later, Mark. Have a great
take care,
day.
guys.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Bye now.